here, you shouldn't have to do anything from there on. Yep, you got your green dots and you're all set. Green dots. Okie dokie. I'm going to sneak out of here and you guys can take over and explain to them where I'd be gone.
You're just going to be gone for a short bit?
Yeah, I should be back. Well, it's about 45 minutes at the most.
I didn't even turn that on. Sure. Turn that off. Do I need to turn this thing on?
Yeah, right here. Plug in there.
So you want to get started? Which one is it? All right, boys and girls. Hope you can hear me. Please let me know if you cannot. I'm filling in for Big Daryl for about half hour, 45 minutes. Unfortunately, Miss Kathy is back in the hospital with her various comorbidities, so he's running down to spend some time with her, and he'll be back in the captain's chair in about half hour, 45 minutes. So you are stuck with myself, Captain G Money, and his sidekick, Mr. T. According to somebody, Canbias, who's that? Who's Canbias?
Emily.
Emily says audio and video is 5x5. Well, my ass is 4x4, so we'll go from there. I will wait for the big guy to get back to go over any gun shows. Do you have any points to ponder before we get started on anything there, Mr. T?
No, you get this thing off the internet.
I, for one, will be so glad when this election nonsense is over. I am so tired of political blah, blah, blahing. There's always some politician saying that Trump's a liar, Biden's a liar, someone's a liar, COVID's going to kill everybody, COVID's not going to kill anybody. Good grief. So hopefully, after the election, the other shoe's going to fall, whether it's going to go towards the Biden camp, which just means that people out there making a bunch of noise for change are going to make even more noise and burn down more stuff. Or if Trump wins, they're going to burn down stuff anyhow. So hope your fire insurance is paid up.
Well, this is not responding.
All right, I'm going to look through a couple of these stories here.
While Scott's looking through the stories, I heard on the radio the Youngstown talk show host that guy from Mercer County had called back. He and his wife received mail-in ballot requests that they had not asked for. And he had thrown them out, and then decided to call the Mercer County election board or whatever. And they had told him, "Oh, you should have said that because you're gonna have to show proof that you um, are who you say you are when you need to go vote in person." But anyway, he had called the board elections back and found out um, the reason why he and his wife got mail-in ballot requests like that was that once upon a time they had asked for the other votes, not the mail-in ballots, but the absentee ballot, and they voted by absentee ballot because they were not in the state of Pennsylvania at the time. They were unable to vote anyway, and that's where the answer was, well, if you ever sign up to get an absentee ballot in the mail, that's why you got one. And that's why you got the voter request in the mail, voter form request. So, and then the guy said, well, my son's active in the military, and I won't say what state he's in, but he's been voting absentee ballots since he joined the military, and wherever he's gone, he might have gotten, let's say he lived in say Air Force Base out in Oklahoma. He might have been stationed there, and he might have gotten a mail-in voter request sent there, or he might be right now in Alaska or someplace. Who knows? And if you're watching the news, I just saw something today that a man went down in Baldwin, Pennsylvania. His house was raided by the FBI. They found all kinds of mail. You can guess what kind of mail. In plastic garbage bags. How do you spell voter fraud? Okay. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. Countries in Europe do not use mail-in ballots because the risk is too great for voter fraud. And we are seeing it here throughout the nation.
All right, I got a story. That voter fraud, it's scary stuff. And if you listen to the people who scream the most about there's no such thing as voter fraud, oftentimes are the ones that seemingly are on the more positive side, will reap the most benefits for the fraudulent voting. But this is a story out of New York. It says the NYPD Commissioner Shea says New York City police reforms are disaster. In a bold rebuke of failed police and police reforms, NYPD Commissioner Derek Shea said the New York crime rate... I'm sorry, there's a line going through this. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Said the New York City crime wave is due to jail reform and movements to defund the police. We've got to have hard discussions about this defunding the police. It is a recipe for disaster, Shea told the Cats Roundtable on WABC. We've got to talk about laws that really need to be changed. We need to be reminded about what's important. Victims are important. Let's strike that balance between being fair to the accused, but not throwing out the rights of victims as well. The crime wave began even pre-COVID as shootings were up over 20%. Almost every category of crime was up over 20%, and it was still wintertime. Shea told host John Katzmaditis, adding police reforms are 100% to blame. People will attack me and continue to attack me, but I'm not going to be quiet when I know what's right for New Yorkers here, Shea added. I'm not going to go on to read anymore because I'm having a hard time. But, with that being said, I have a friend that's a lawyer, and he lives over near Camden, New Jersey, where they have had a comprehensive police reform. Not in what the Antifa leftists are calling for. They defunded police, And what they did there was they got rid of a lot of the military tactical stuff, and they beefed up training and things of that nature. Yeah, they're defunding police, but they're trying to do a more comprehensive job in law enforcement and dealing with victims, dealing with criminals. But all you hear in the press is defund the police, tear it down, burn it down, burn it down. And the people that are screaming the loudest aren't the ones asking for this holistic type approach. They just want all the cops gone. And that's untenable, as we all know. Your thoughts?
Well, the police should have been militarized in the first place, but they had, the DOD, our defense, had a lot of leftover stuff when we pulled out of Iraq. We probably need a place to get rid of it. They want to store it someplace and take care of it. So it was pretty easy for the police then to get this stuff.
And it's cool and it's fun. And
yeah,
a lot of guys are ex-military, so they are used to that.
Yeah. They ain't off me any.
Me either.
That's upsetting. I'm a retired guy. You could at least offer me something.
Something. Just
be the first year block to have an in-wrap and go downtown.
Just one. I always thought it was pretty cool listening to the M88s drive through the motor pool. If you don't know what an M88 is, it's a large track recovery vehicle, about 3 times the size of the size of a normal house. They're just monstrous, heavy. Well, they have to be able to pull the biggest of the best,
the Abrams, yeah,
the Abrams and everything else. And Jesus, you're sitting there in your track vehicle. You got your headphones on, trying to hide from the first sergeant because he's going to make you do something stupid, and you just hear this rumbling. You're like, oh, well, M88's going out to pick somebody up.
And they got stuck or turned over.
Well, being out in Colorado Springs, we weren't a real high priority post, so it was usually something broke down through a track, or some hotshot new lieutenant said, well, we can go through that gully. No, we can't, sir. Yeah, we can do it. I learned it in ROTC. And we all know where that ends up.
Most everything in RTC is done on foot. Unless they changed it in the last policy. That's why I finished up RTC in '78. So.
Where'd you go to college?
The Citadel Military College in South Carolina, located in lovely Charleston, South Carolina.
Or up.
Member of the Army RTC, and member of the, I don't know if they still have it up, the Cordell Airborne Ranger Company. We got to do lots of neat stuff. Fly around Hueys to different places. Sometimes go by truck. We came back from the FTX, weekend FTX, and the local naval folks still had some landing craft. They picked us up river from the school and took us down and dropped us off at the marina at the school there. That was a lot of fun.
One of the comments here was jail reform ? They are letting out criminals, so what do you expect? And Mr. Wittenberg said Cuomo and de Blasio are the cause of the New York problems.
Yep.
And I just read somewhere here today where there's all kinds of rumors bandying about that if Biden gets elected, he's going to be eyeballing Governor Cuomo for his attorney general. That's horrifying. The guy has enough power as it is for his state. Give him like a national platform. We're all going to be walking around in shackles.
Okay. COVID-19, the pandemic that really isn't. As most of you may have heard or read, we had a lot of states had lockdowns early on in the spring. And probably have heard it. People didn't like those lockdowns. They didn't like staying inside. Well, course, there's a talk now. We have the fall surge. And the fall surge may bring more lockdowns, more stay-at-home orders. And the second surge, the fall surge here, may bring back the problems of the initial lockdowns. Those being the reduced mental health of people. They're devastated. They can't go outside. They can't visit friends or family members. Of course, some people like that are more scared. Now, we had the initial lockdown. Hey, if I go somewhere, I had to go somewhere. I mean, if I go to my world or someplace else, to the feed store for the animals, I went. Heck was lockdown. But now, researchers are concerned that this new wave of COVID-19 here and chance for more lockdowns will bring back increased number of deaths due to drug overdoses, alcohol abuse, and just plain out suicide because people can't handle being alone. Now, unfortunately, I can't get this article to fully open, so I'm just reading the first parts of it. And of course, the problem, the people having the most problems are those that live alone. They have no one to talk to. And more so if you are elderly or have some kind of mental disorder. There's a disease or a symptom that I am quite familiar with. And it usually happens to older people or those people who have very bad cognitive issues. It's called sundown syndrome. Sundown syndrome is simply this. You have someone who's in a bad mental state, like Alzheimer's, dementia. As the sun gets closer to the horizon, you become more agitated, more liable to hurt somebody, to get violent, maybe to break things at their home. And from experience, that person can be that way for an hour or two after sunset, or maybe for several hours after sunset. It depends on what else you can get their mind shifted to something else. I mean, you can get them concentrate on maybe eating or drinking or watching TV. You got the drapes closed; they can't see outside; it's dark. And you might be able to get them focused on that, and they're not worrying about the fact it's now sundown, it's past sundown, it's dark outside.
You see a lot of it in the nursing homes.
Yes, that's the second case I'm familiar with right now. And the other one was somebody very close and dear to me who's now passed on.
I have been doing this long-term care nursing for 11 years now, and I have not seen this rapid of decline of people in my 11 years. I mean, people who were, I think I've mentioned this before, and I'm repeating myself, my apologies, but people who were vibrant, they were walking themselves to meals, they were, and even the people getting family members, they wanted to participate in the various activities. Well, now the activities, people are so hamstrung by, you can't have more than X amount of people in one sitting, and you have to have, so much distance. Well, a lot of these people just can't hear, can't see. So you need them to be close so they can participate. Well, no, they can't do that. So what do? They just stay in the room. And a lot of the older generation, the people in their late 70s, early 80s, didn't grow up with TV.
No.
So they don't, well, let's put on a TV show. I don't want to watch that. There's nothing on there I want to see. The game shows, it's something they kind of remember. Price is Right's a big one. Some of the news channels are big, but, some of the younger people that we've had come through, but I mean, like in their late 60s, early 70s, are a little more susceptible to like television. But yeah, these people are just spiraling, and it's horrifying. And these poor people, these family members can't come in. They're not allowed to have any kind of contact.
Yeah, well, I have two relatives, in-laws, in care facilities. Right now, both are on lockdown because at least one or more staff members test positive for COVID-19, so nobody can come visit them. Now, my wife and one of her sisters, they do a lot of FaceTime with one of the people in the hospital, or one nursing home rather. The other one, he couldn't use a computer to save his life. The only thing we do was talk to him by phone. And he wants out from where he is. I don't blame him. But he can't come back and do what he used to do because he is a risk to hurt himself using machinery.
Hellfire, I'm at risk of hurting myself with machinery too.
Well, he has a bad history of having a mental disconnect when using stuff, which has got worse. Last year he nearly cut off the top of the middle finger in his left hand. Actually, did break a bone and he required a pin in there for several weeks. Basically ignored his doctor's advice over and over again what he's supposed to do. And that's not the first time. And the other issue is that he's not supposed to drive farm machinery, no tractors. Not even his lawnmower.
That's one of the things we assess for in the home when people are starting to. We notice something's just not quite right. Is we are asked, do they have a decline in safety awareness? They're just, you can tell them day after day, you cannot get up out of this wheelchair by yourself to go to the bathroom. Oh yes, I can. Well, they're the ones that are falling in the bathroom 3 times a week, and we're not allowed to use restraints. One time they used to have things called jerry chairs where they had a tray you could put in front.
Yeah.
And, you could put magazines and stuff on it, but we're not allowed to even use those anymore. At some point, we have to allow them to hurt themselves, basically, and it's really unsettling. But we don't just park them in the room and leave them be. It's if we know somebody has a history of falls, we try to keep them in a high visibility area so we can toilet them on a regular basis.
Yeah, my one in-law, his bed is rigged with an alarm. Because he gets up, and sometimes it kind of wanders around. So you got to keep an eye on him. And speaking of memory issues and problems, I have an article about Joe Biden.
Joe who?
Yeah, Biden.
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah. And from WorldNet Daily, Biden says voters are the ones with, quote, memory, unquote, problems. Confronted by a Gallup poll showing 56% of Americans believe that they are better off now than they were 4 years ago, Joe Biden suggests the majority of Americans have memory issues. Hey, Joe, I am better off now than I was when you and Barack Baby were president and vice president, okay? Biden was asked by a poll reported by WorldNet Daily, an interview last Monday with Kyle Inskeep of Cincinnati WKRC, WKRP, and he asked Biden, why should people who feel better off today under the Trump administration vote for you, he asked. Biden's reply was, well, if they think that, they probably shouldn't, Biden replied. Meaning that if you are better off than you were 4 years ago, it's probably a good idea not to vote for Biden-Harris. After all, Biden-Harris first of all, Biden in particular, has already stated, one, he is going to undo the tax cuts that Trump put in, and two, he's going to raise our taxes. Well, double whammy right there. Anyway, the Democratic presidential nominee continued misciting the poll results because they think, I remember, the quote number was 56%. And Biden goes, oops, get down here, right? They think 54% of Americans believe they are better off economically today than they were under our administration, question mark? Well, their memory isn't very good, quite frankly, Biden said. The former vice president claimed Trump doesn't share the values of most Americans. He is not very honest with people, he said. He's fighting the conventions relative to public safety in terms even now, not wearing a mask. A guy who is a super spreader, Biden said. Joe, Trump is not afraid of the virus, especially now since he survived the virus in a milder form than other people have. And Joe, you're just a coward, okay? Hiding in your basement so that when it's okay, it's time to go out and do a few public appearances. But Joe goes on, but look, whatever they believe, they should go out and vote. People should vote, period. Now, Trump seized upon the Gallup poll in a tweet on October 8th. The Gallup poll has come out with an incredible finding that 56% of you said you are better off today during a pandemic than you were 4 years ago under Obama and Biden. Highest number on record, pretty amazing. The poll was based on the question Ronald Reagan posed to the American people in 1980 when he ran for president for the first time. The first poll that question was conducted in 1984. It found out that 44% of Americans believed they were better off, and Reagan went on to win a 49-state landslide. I mean, Carter, please, just, peanut farmer should have stayed in Georgia. And there are some different numbers here based on time frames I won't go into. In 2012, Gallup noted that Barack Obama sought re-election in 2012. 45% said they were better off, and Obama went to the victory for his second term. Never should have happened, but anyway. Of course, Bush wasn't one of the best guys either. And going back to 2004, George Bush won re-election at 47% in October. Now you said the same thing. They were better off than they were before. However, when his father, George H.W. Bush, taught another 4 years in 1992, that figure of being better off was only 30%, and he lost. Anyway. Biden made a few more gaffes this past week. Really, that man should be at home, being taken care of by his wife or somebody else that's capable, and not running for re-election, or not running for election of president. Guy needs to stay home, just be out of sight, out of mind.
Something along with that, better 4 years ago. It's something on Biden's tax plan. It could force companies to cut retirement benefits. According to Newsmax, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden plans to upend the traditional tax preferences of retirement accounts like 401k. Plans could force some small companies to cut those benefits, industry experts warned Fox Business Network. Biden has vowed to convert the current deductibility of traditional retirement contributions into matching refundable credits for 401ks, IRAs, and others, Fox Business News explained. The goal of Biden's plan is to level the playing field of tax deferral in traditional retirement accounts with the intent of boosting savings among low-income earners. But industry experts caution that by reducing the benefits that higher earners receive, the Biden campaign may have increased the likelihood of businesses abandoning those retirement benefits altogether, according to the Fox Business Network. If you take the tax deduction away and reduce the tax benefit without also addressing the non-discrimination rules, you've blown up the bargain, Brian Graff, the CEO of the American Retirement Association, told Fox Business Network. That's because employers who make contributions to a 401k must offer that same benefit to their workers. FBN said, under Biden's plan, business owners would have to reduce their own tax for employees, which is expensive, particularly during a pandemic. Some of those bosses, traditionally the higher income earners, may lack the incentive to offer those retirement accounts if their tax benefit is slashed, Graff said. When you mess up that bargain, you're disincentivizing those small business owners from having that plan anymore, he said. Not only is it unfair to those small business owners, it's going to reduce the likelihood that they're going to offer those benefits to their employees, and that's particularly acute in a challenging time like now. Tens of millions could lose their plans as a result of the proposed change, Graff estimated. Small businesses, which would be the most affected by the new rules, employ roughly 58.9 million people, or 47.5% of the nation's workforce. So, I didn't understand a lot of that.
Well, a lot of states and many companies, many years ago, had retirement plans where you part of your pay per month went into your retirement plan, and the company or the state basically matched that with funds.
And I understand that part. But it's just the other stuff and the disincentivizing. And
well,
it just kind of
you're gonna make it tough for companies to continue doing that and make things so that it's not worthwhile for a company to even pay money toward a retirement. You, the employee, on your own, you will have to come out with your own money if you get your biweekly or monthly paycheck to put aside for your future. And people who work, a lot of people work now. They're already doing it. They got to put money aside. You don't have there's no company retirement plan. It's one reason I think 401k plans come into existence. Or you can do an individual IRA and just, But things don't look good should Biden get elected. And I got another Biden story here. It says, study, Biden's agenda will cost every family up to $49,000. This comes from WorldNet Daily. Joe Biden's proposal, which are many, could cost the nation some $36 trillion over the next decade, money we don't have, or basically up to $49,000 per family, according to the study. Paul Bedard reported in his Washington Secrets column, the study was done by James Madison Institute and concluded that the Biden-Harris agenda would send the economies of the 5 key battleground states. Let me say again. This study concluded that the Biden-Harris agenda would send the economies of the 5 key battleground states of Pennsylvania, WS, Ohio, Florida, Michigan, and Wisconsin spiraling into deficits. We already have a deficit here in Pennsylvania. Our legislators worked and got paid. Our governor got paid for whatever he did, besides cost problems. And before I can finish the article, if you've been paying attention, our governor wants to make the use of marijuana legal. Not so much to please the people who want to use marijuana, but for tax revenue purposes. And the Democrats in our state legislature want to make prostitution legal. Why? Because prostitution can be taxed when it's made legal. It's done in Germany. Somebody must have been paying attention to what they plan to do. But prostitution is legal in Germany. I know I was there for 3 years back in the 80s. Never did it myself, but I know or heard guys did. But prostitution was legal, and the folks had to keep records and pay taxes on their earnings. Ladies of the night and their handlers. So our state, and I'm sure other states, are in dire need for money. So don't be surprised if not only your income tax rate's gone up, or it could be a surge charge of some kind added to the current tax rate, but your school, library, property taxes, whatever, will also go up. But anyway, getting back to this story here, or article. After healthcare, the next biggest hit to Americans would be $3.8 trillion from eliminating the Trump tax cuts, which Biden has promised to do on his first day of office. So, let me repeat that. After healthcare, the next biggest hit to us Americans would be the $3.8 million from eliminating the tax cuts that Trump put in effect after he was elected. And Biden promises to do this on his first day in office. So we're going to spend even more money just on taxes. And of course, we'll have less money to spend on things. And a study the study done by the Institute's Donna Arduin, and that's the institute I mentioned up here, from the, I can't find the name of the institute. Anyway, the institute did a study. 300 folks said that Biden administration would sharply boost the role of the federal government in education, which we have too much now of, and green infrastructure, like Alexandria, Cortez, was an occasional Cortex wants to do. Now, in contrast, President Trump would like to maintain the 2017 tax overhaul and propose a payroll tax decrease, relying primarily on a private sector individual-led income growth agenda. There is a clear difference between the two candidates in the economic policy, impacting economic premises, employment levels, and allocating of scarce resources between the public and private sector starting in 2021. That's how he concluded. Democrats, more so than Republicans, have no idea how an economy is supposed to work. I've seen many times on memes, the country cannot tax its way into prosperity. Let's see. Reinvigorating the U.S. economy should be the top priority for federal and state leaders. Okay, Congress, you hear that? PA legislators hear that? And U.S. voters must decide which presidential platform will fulfill this goal, as the U.S. economy begins its recovery from COVID-19. Now, before COVID hit, unemployment rate was very low. It jumped up as expected. A lot of people lost their jobs. We had Wolf and other governors, put a limit on how many people could go to restaurants and whatnot. Banks were allowed to have people in. So a lot of people were on unemployment lines. Now, employment numbers are going up, unemployment numbers are going down, and I have a feeling that the Biden administration is not going to make numbers a whole lot better, not with all his tax increases. But anyway, let me continue. Okay, let's see. Pro-growth policies that remove government intervention, facilitate free trade, and ensure sound fiscal policy will serve to promote the innovation and growth necessary to counter the ramifications of the pandemic and provide crucial improve crucial to determining whether the U.S. will emerge from this crisis stronger. That is what Trump wants to do. The study found Biden would raise taxes on Florida residents by $9,389 per person over the next 10 years, or more than $37,000 for a family of 4 in Florida. In Michigan, Biden's tax increases would be an increase of $8,142 per person in Michigan. Wisconsin, it would be an increase of $9,020 per person. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, okay, don't vote Biden, okay. In Pennsylvania, our tax rate would go up $10,605 per person. And if you're in Ohio, Jack, and others, your tax rate goes up a whopping $12,299 per person. For a case of Ohio, nearly $50,000 for a family of 4. If we have learned anything from this incredibly unique year, if the economy can turn the dime, the policies matter greatly. As I said, we had great unemployment numbers. Pandemic hit, a lot of people went out of work, numbers went up. Now that restrictions are being lessened, more people being employed, unemployment numbers are going down, the economy is starting to recover. Who do you want as president? Somebody who's trying to improve the economy, or someone who wants to try to tax us to death his way? Where was I here? Okay. We face a perilous fight to return to prosperity. And what happens in Washington, D.C. will filter down to each state in different ways. According to John Robert McCure, the president of the Institute, said, both presidential candidates would approach America's challenges differently, and the policy agendas absolutely reflect that. Those policy agendas will have tremendous and long-lasting impacts on our economy, and that's why this JMI, let me go back here. That is the John, where am I? James Mason Institute, yep. Yeah, scroll back down.
Jack Flash Wittenberg had a question here in the chat room. It says, "Oh, Scott, Mr. T, and Mac, who's MECH,
Mechanicsburg.
How cold has it been getting at night where you live? Asking because I'm going camping this Thursday near Bradford, PA.
Let me finish this.
and
I'll tell you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I was trying to scroll back down because I couldn't. James Mason Institute. Anyway, this study was put together to inform and educate voters before Election Day. Biden's plan spending indicates a $32.6 trillion for Medicare for all, which is not going to work. $2 trillion for his version of the Green Deal, so that's more bankruptcies for the United States. $1.3 trillion for higher education. We need to get the feds out of the education business. And $700 billion for trade and regulations. The study concluded, where it might be a factional idea these days to order the U.S. Treasury to print money and the Federal Reserve to go along. Ultimately, the money to pay for those proposals come from, guess who? U.S. taxpayers, both individual and corporations. The continuation of that path, along with several others proposed by former Vice President Biden and Senator Harris, will be borne by all of us, both in the taxes we pay and the economies we withstand. And it doesn't bode well for us. Now, Thinking about temperatures. Jack, our coldest morning was Saturday at the house at 29 degrees. This week it's going to be, at least long range forecast, more like in upper 40s to 50s for parts of western Pennsylvania. We're going to Bradford to be chillier. And, well, temperatures are going to be bouncing between low 60s, maybe low 70s. Last I saw a chance of rain tonight, tomorrow, Tuesday, and again on Friday. So
Yeah, it's cold and wet. It's there.
But as I know from experience, tomorrow's forecast, especially long range, could drastically change. Oh, and the man, the myth, the legend is
He's
back.
back. I'm out. How's Kathy?
Not good.
Oh my.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, I's back. In case you didn't know, or your guys didn't tell you, I had to put Kat in the hospital this week. So I was down to see her tonight, and she was doing pretty good yesterday, but tonight she's not doing good at all. And I guess that's the way it is when you have a problem with urinary tract infections that affect the mind.
Yeah, my mom had that. Oh boy.
And, so anyway, it's kind of tiring me out. But hi, Emmy. And by the way, if you haven't heard any of us talking while we were on the air on the car radio, it sounds pretty good.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I need this.
That's why I brought it.
I almost hit 4 deer right here at the cornfield between, just on the other side of 2 neighbors' house.
'Tis the season, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Better watch it way out.
Put that on tight.
Don't chuck it though.
Goes in tight, comes out easy. Anyway. There's somebody's, Jack saying you guys sound great tonight, so I'll let you continue on.
I won't do that while you give a little alcohol your system.
Replenish my antifreeze.
That too. Well, anyway, while I'm on a roll, I have another article here from WorldNet Daily. It's entitled "The Revolution: The Democratic Demolition of America." Most Americans think of 2020 as a presidential election year. But radical leftists, especially those who have hijacked and now control the Democratic Party, that's why in things I put Democratic/Socialist/Communist Party or not the USA. That one on Facebook. Anyway, radical leftists, especially those who have hijacked the and now control the Democratic Party, see this as a year of revolution to overthrow the United States that they have been plotting for more than the last 100 years. That's why I think Democratic governors and mayors allowed BLM and the Antifa to run wild in cities like Portland and Seattle. Going back into history now, in 1912, America's first progressive Democratic president, do you hear the word progressive? Okay, that is code word for socialist or communist. Okay? Anyway, Our first progressive Democratic president, Woodrow Wilson, was eager to replace what he considered the obsolete U.S. Constitution. Okay, the Democrats back then are thinking the U.S. Constitution is obsolete. Well, definitely Woodrow Wilson thought so. He was elected because Republican votes were split between progressive Teddy Roosevelt, who was, Republican, was also a socialist, and incumbent President William Howard Taft. But Woodrow Wilson came out with the progressive income tax that we know and love today. Now his progressive income tax was started would only tax the rich. Now it taxes just about everybody in the United States. And the Federal Reserve was created to furnish an elastic currency. Paper money with the Democrats could build gigantic movement or gigantic government. And they have. Wilson won re-election with the slogan, "He kept us out of war," WW1. A week later, had to eager to create a global government.
Those two.
He plunged contributed Americans into WW1. Now, in his 1912 speech, Wilson called for replacing our government limiting constitution. Remember that. Our government our constitution we have is supposed to limit our government. Congress, for the most part, has ignored it, especially the Democrats. Anyway, this replacement for our limited government limited constitution was going to be a new house that utopian progressives wanted. A generation or two from now, Wilson said, in 1912, the scaffolding will be taken away, and there will be the family in the great building, whose noble architecture will be at last disclosed, where men can live in a single community, cooperative as in a perfected, coordinated beehive, a totalitarian collective society. Just to let you know, communism falls under totalitarianism. They're very closely related anyway. Progressives, then as now, still want to replace America's individualism, freedom, and free enterprise with their brand of socialism. Anyway, as James Chance wrote in his history of 1912, both Roosevelt and Wilson, though not officially socialists, in calling for change, invented a condition in which the rich may calling for the rich to be made reasonably poor and the poor reasonably rich by law. That's half. He went on to declare that the equal opportunity which those seek who proclaim the coming of so-called social justice. Social justice? Where did you hear that word before?
Socialistic justice?
No, social justice. Let me repeat that.
Does it anything like social distancing?
No. Let me go back to Chase said. He went on to declare that the equal opportunity which those seek who proclaim the coming of so-called social justice involved a forced division of property, and that means socialism.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, the Democratic Party was hijacked by socialists and communists before the Great Russian Revolution in 1917. Anyway, now this progressive movement, quote, cannot create good times, it cannot make the rain fall, the sun to shine, or the crops to grow, but it can by pursuing a meddlesome policy attempting to change economic conditions and frightening the investment of capital, preventing prosperity, and preventing revival of businesses. That's what the Democrats want. They want us peons dependent on government. Even in 1912, the radical left called for social justice. The term social justice is not new. It's just been reinvented, I guess, or just brought back to life. Anyway, call for social justice as a way to drive wedges into the American society and, by divide and conquer politics, seize power for itself. The social justice workers of today, as Tucker Carlson says, are waging a Marxist class disguised as a race war. Divide and conquer. The radical leftist goal, read that to mean the Democratic goal, in 2020 is to bring down America through a controlled demolition and to precisely place explosives to destroy key parts of our society that kept America standing tall. Okay, we always seen, maybe an article about Biden is in favor of letting 8-year-olds decide whether they want to be something else other than the gender they are born. Yeah. Transgenderism, okay? Our own Governor Pirate Wolf wants to make prostitution, he and his Democratic colleague want prostitution made legal in Pennsylvania. Okay. He wants to make marijuana legal. That's all been considered legal and immoral. But, and if Democrats win the White House and Senate this November, they will use explosives quickly to blow up legal safeguards to ensure that no future vote of the people can ever remove them from power. That is why Pelosi and Schumer want Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, they would gain 6 senators, to be Democrat states. States which are Democratically controlled. So they pick up 6 more Democrat senators and probably for the rest of our lives and then some to be Democratic controlled government. At the White House, the Senate, the House of Representatives. And that's why they want to pack the Supreme Court and put more justices in there that they favor. Oh. We can go down further. Target number 1 of this demolition would be the Senate filibuster, a 60-vote supermajority that preserves Thomas Jefferson's belief that great issues should never be forced on slender majorities. Now, Obamacare became law with only Democratic votes and parliamentary trickery. I forget how that worked. Somehow they got that in there. With filibuster gone, almost anything can be made law by a simple majority vote. So as long as the Democrats maintain a 51% majority in the House, the Senate, the Senate article, they will get things passed. Target number 2, like I just mentioned, will be the creation of 6 new seats on the Supreme Court to be packed, quote unquote, by appointed for life young leftists and unelected lawmakers opposing radical ideology, not justice. Now, Joe Biden has said that he is not a fan of court packing. But then, on the other hand, he doesn't want to say who the Supreme Court nominees would be. But for right now, he is far left-leaning running mate and heir apparent, Senator Kamala Harris, and actually she's more leftist than Biden is. Now, they're pledged not to pack the court. And target 3, as I just mentioned, will be demolition will be the U.S. Senate, packed with 4 potential Democrats from the United States of Puerto Rico and District of Columbia. I'm sorry, I thought it was 6. I said 6. 4. We'll have 4. Target 4 will be the future election safeguards. The Democratic-dominated Congress proposed California-like ballot harvesting and mass mail-in ballots nationwide. Voter fraud. Every election will be for Democrats. Every election will for Democrats be easy to steal. The Electoral College will be de facto abolished or bypassed by state agreements that let the national popular vote rule. That was not the intent of the founding fathers. They did the Electoral College for a reason. So every state has a chance to make a difference in who gets elected president. Democratic rule will take away that option. Target 5 will soon be the electorate, because it will soon include millions of additional illegal aliens aimed immediately given the right to vote. Illegal aliens by federal law are not allowed to vote in federal elections. Not sure about state laws, but they said they can vote in state laws, but in federal elections, only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections. And why do you think they'll vote Democratic? Well, let's see. A huge class of people dependent on Democrat checks will guarantee future Democratic election dominance. So hey, illegal aliens, we the Democratic Party want you in. Once they get in, they're locked in for life, pretty much. Anyway, nothing can prevent free speech or gun ownership from being redefined as collective rights denied to an individual, or outlawing private property, or lowering the voting age to 15, while banning senior citizen voting. Read that again. This means democratically controlled Congress and the presidency. Nothing could prevent free speech or gun ownership being redefined as collective rights denied to individuals, or outlawing private property, or lowering the voting age to 15 while banning senior citizens. They are going to deny us our right to vote. Okay? 15-year-olds, even 18-year-olds, in some cases, are not strong enough mentally to vote properly. Give me a wild, crazy idea there. Now, denying individuals their own constitutionally Second Amendment gun rights. Outlawing private property means your house is no longer, if you own a house, it's no longer yours. Well, actually, the way it is, because you pay rent to the local government once or twice a year, to pay school tax, property tax, whatever. But it's not yours. The government probably will buy it back from you. They don't outright take it.
You didn't sell it to me in the first place.
I know. And even poorer, weaker United States will dissolve into a Chinese government party-controlled global government, which is fine with violent, infantilized, Biden-supporting brown shirt mobs that claim no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. Biden, Pelosi, Feinstein have all gotten money. And they're not the only ones. They've all gotten money from the Chinese Communist Party, otherwise known as the CCP. Okay? The Chinese basically own them. And the Democratic Party is not like the USA, it's not like a U.S. Constitution as written. I am not voting for a single Democrat this year. I really have voted for Democrat in the past. But definitely not this year, and probably never again. So our choice is clear. We have two options. I know a lot of people don't like Trump. There are things about him I don't like. Especially when it comes to Second Amendment and some other issues. But he gets things done. And by the way, this is not a paid political endorsement. He has not paid me a thing. But he's the only person that seems standing up for our rights. That's running for president right now.
To expand on that voting bit, you should never go into a polling place and vote because you do or don't like a candidate. His personality, Trump's an asshole. We all know that. As a man, I don't like him. But as to what he's doing to save this country, I like. That's why I vote for him. I sure as hell don't like Biden because he's been a traitor and a treasonous dog for the last 40 years, especially when it comes, believe it or not, folks, if you pay attention, over the 40 years he was in Congress, he tried 4 times to kill Social Security.
He ended up increasing taxes on it.
Now they're talking, he's talking about I just saw it this afternoon, printer didn't want to print it. He's talking about hitting the 401ks with stopping their tax loophole. Well, the only loophole with the tax is the 401ks. You don't pay tax on that money that's being invested until you get it out when you retire. He's wanting to put a plug on that.
So the IRAs too.
Yeah, and the 401ks, IRAs, anything. Which then means a lot of their smaller businesses will end up probably dropping that program or plan from their retirement package because they can't afford to do all that crap. Because not only do you put into it, but they put into it a matching amount, and they would have to pay taxes on that matching amount instead of being deferred. So you stop and figure out who you want to vote for. You want to vote for free America or you want to vote for communist Biden China? And the other thing I heard today is, not today, yesterday, is that the Michigan is starting to have if kids are out there listening, anybody heard, Michigan is going to have a pig slaughter because the Chinese meat company that has controlling interest in processing meat throughout the world wants it so. That's how much influence the Chinese have on different industries in the world. This one happens to be the meat or food industry or processing, butchering, whatever you want to call it. And so you got to pay attention. Well, at this point, I know I just got here, but at this point, I'm going to give the guys a 5-minute break.
We just finished one thing for you. Okay. I don't have 401ks. I'm not sure that how it works, but I know IRAs. When you invest like an IRA, and you get your quarterly statements like I do, your account goes up or down. And a lot of people get upset. Oh, it went down and I lost, $2,000 or $4,000, $20,000. Remember this. It's all on paper. It doesn't count until you start drawing the money out. Unfortunately, Biden, and I don't know who's been advising to do this, doesn't realize that all that is paper money. Electronic money. Where you stand at the end of the year versus where you stand at the beginning of the year means you had a good year, bad year, or you just broke even.
God bless you.
It is stupid to tax money that you don't have. But apparently, that's what Biden and some idiots in the Democratic Party want to do.
Okay. At this point, we're going to take a 3-minute break. Yeah.
They'll be back.
Okay, kids, we're back. Before we start anything else, I heard Scotty say he was going to skip the gun shows at the beginning of the show. So I'm going to cover them next weekend. October the 23rd, which is Friday, and the 24th, which is Saturday. Route 322, 5320 Route 322, Shippendale, PA, and it will be at the Allegheny Log Homes facility there. Yeah, they got two different numbers, so all I can tell you to do is just go down there till you come to the Allegheny Log Homes on 322. It's down near Knox. Okay? That's Friday from 4 to 9 and Saturday 9 to 4. Now, Friday, even though the wife may or may not still be in the hospital, the way things are going, she probably will, but even if she isn't, I am going down on Friday to take my stuff down and set it up, and I'll be setting up with a friend of mine who helps me put on the show for the shows that we put on. He will watch my tables and he will sell stuff for me. And then on Saturday, the 24th at 9, I will go back down there, and when things break up, I'll gather up the stuff and come home.
One good thing about, the Amish are kind of the ones setting this up, right? They're probably going to have bang up good food.
Oh, yes, I've been here. Yeah, bang up good food. Bang up
At
good
the very least, come out and probably get something good.
Yeah. And now, this last summer, they had one in July, and my buddy that I'm setting up with sold $8,000 worth of stuff down there in July. In July. Okay, in November, I don't have the flyer in front of me. I just got it and I didn't get it down here because of all that's going on. November the 7th and 8th, I believe, or the 6th and 7th, whatever that weekend falls. Yankee Lake Ballroom over in Yankee Lake, PA. Yankee Lake, Ohio.
But you said first weekend in November?
Yeah, November the 7th, 6th or 7th or 7th.
Okay, that calendar says 7th is Saturday, 8th is Sunday. So
It'll be the 7th and 8th.
Yeah, so okay.
Over at the Yankee Lake Ballroom, Yankee Lake, PA.
Hopefully they will know who president.
We might. Although I heard a discouraging word this afternoon on the news that they're saying 90,000 Pennsylvania applications for absentee ballots have been rejected.
Crazy, yes.
90,000
A lot of
rejected. And a lot of 50% of them because they weren't supposedly filled out right. So, be that as it may. December the 12th and 13th, Harbor Creek, PA. At the Harbor Creek Fire Department Social Hall, U.S. Route 20, Harbor Creek, PA. You can't miss it. You go down 20 until you see this big old fire station there. And then January 23rd and 24th in 2021 at Connie Lake Sportsman's Club, Connie Lake, PA, off of Route 18, Connie Lake, PA. That's the 23rd and 24th. Now, I'm hoping to have a couple others come in beforehand. I've heard rumors of them, but I don't know if I'm going to get them. But be that as it may. Okay. Gee, that tired me out already. Well, let's see what the stories you guys didn't take here. There was one that I was kind of wanting to do. There's two stories.
Did you hear about the hullabaloo out there in San Francisco on Saturday? Apparently,
They burned it down?
no. There was. Where'd that article go? There was a protest set up by a conservative group to protest the censorship in the social medias and whatnot. Well, the Antifa chuckleheads got wind of it, and they started their own counter protest, physically assaulted people. I mean, they have the head of the guy that set it up was a black fella. He got punched in the face twice, knocked out his 2 front teeth. They have a couple of videos where these Antifa idiots are pushing elderly people down. That they're trying. They were preventing people from getting to their designated protest area because the conservative people jumped through all the hoops. They filed for their permits. You know, the city council allotted extra police because they knew it was going to be a hotbed, but these people just wanted to protest. And all they got, a black guy got punched in the face, and all kinds of racial slurs were called out, calling Trump Nazi this and F that, and the police had to end up stopping the protest and escorting the conservative types back to their vehicles because it was such a melee, and they got what they wanted. These people that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
G.I. Joseph posed the question. Route 322, does that run from Philadelphia past me to Erie or what? No, it runs from Cleveland through Meadville, down through Franklin, on down south, and eventually ends up in, I believe, Harrisburg. How far it goes past Harrisburg, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
And I'm not sure about that. But that's the way it goes. It goes from Cleveland southeast. And it's not a bad road when it's in good condition.
And what I'm thinking about is, this really goes for those in Pennsylvania. I saw a flap on some news about carrying or being armed when you go vote on November the 3rd. And this is the outcome. For those in Pennsylvania, if you have a state concealed carry permit, you are allowed by law to carry concealed when you go vote. Let me say that again. In Pennsylvania, if you have a valid concealed carry permit, on November the 3rd, you can legally carry concealed while you go vote. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I've done it for years. And with the threat of violence on voting day, I'm going to do it again. Protect my family if we all go in and vote.
The operative word being concealed. Don't be the chucklehead carrying the AR-15 over the shoulder. Be discreet.
I'm not sure about the current governor's declaration of emergency, but in the format from the declaration of emergency, it states that no open carry of weapons is permitted on public property, public access, okay? That means, unless you're close to say you're hunting, okay? If you're walking down the street because you're going to hunt, that's different, but you just can't go to your local gun store, buy a shotgun or rifle and then open carry it back and walk back to your house so that you just carry it down the roadway. The police will stop you. They have the right to do so under.
I got an answer to that. You go to the polling place, you say you're hunting a ballot.
where you're on.
Oy.
Seriously. Now, the governor's declaration is not applied to private property. So if you live and want to go outside and carry your 45, 38 special, AR-15, whatever can be open carry, you are allowed to do so because you are on your own property. Just don't walk along the roadside carrying it openly. Somebody might decide to say, he's got a gun, and call 911 and have the police show up. So if you're going to carry concealed on voting day, make sure that whatever you're wearing will conceal your pistol. Okay? If you're going to carry it, wear a shirt that don't tuck your shirt in. Have it hung over your pants, like outside your pants. It covers conceals your pistol from the public, or shoulder holster, as long as it's somewhat, just think smartly about it, okay? Just figure out what you need to do and go do it. But make sure your pistol is concealed. Somebody freaks out and says, "Oh, he's got a gun! Call 911!"
I had to change my plans about the way I was going to go to. Kathy and I both were going to go to the polling place.
Oh,
The
well.
vote. But with her becoming sick, I don't think it would be a good time to try and take her down there to try and teach her how to use the new voting machines. So I've already voted and set my ballot in. I'm just waiting to see how soon she can come home so I can go through the ballot with her and have her vote and then sign it and witness it and send it in. Otherwise, I would have
Can you
gone.
take it into her and have her do it there?
No, I'm not allowed to take nothing in. I'm the only one that's allowed to come and visit. And I have to wear a mask all the time I'm in there, so it makes it kind of tough because I have problems breathing, but I cheat.
I do too.
Well, I know the social worker at the facility where I work was helping some of the elders with their mail-in ballots. So if you wanted to try to maybe do it that way.
Well, I've already got the ballot. So, and I already done mine, so it's easy, and it has a thing on there for a witness. So,
But if you're not, if they won't allow you to take anything, and maybe you can get the social worker to give you a hand, or
no,
one of the nurses.
they'll base it on how long it takes before she gets out.
Yeah, we got some time.
Got some time yet, so.
I'm not voting this year.
Yeah. I was thinking,
Voting,
just for the hell of it,
voting's
to get
dumb.
this goddamn war on and get the communists, rid of the communists in this country and to vote for Biden.
That may happen whether you want to or not.
It's going to happen whether I want to or not, whether I vote for him or
Well,
not.
because I have an article that covers radical leftist violence.
Well, you do have an article covers that.
Yes,
huh?
I do that.
See, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
How great minds work separately.
While he's reading that, I'm going to take off.
Oh, you're going to kick off.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, thanks for the brew.
Yep.
The only problem was the bottle had a hole in it and it's all gone.
As always.
I don't know where it went. It just leaked out all over the place. Well, thanks for coming in, Scott.
Certainly.
Like you said, thanks for your beer.
Oh yeah. I will talk to you gentlemen later.
Yeah, and be
All right.
careful with the deer running, especially
Yeah.
since it's raining. It seems that they like to rain on the run. They like to run more when it's raining. Makes
Yeah.
it harder to see.
When my wife picked me up this morning, that deer that I almost hit last week leaving here was standing alongside the road, same spot. I don't know for sure.
Right down here,
Wait for you to come back in.
that's probably,
Down over the hill.
yeah,
When you turn up on the Tamarack Drive or whatever it is,
yeah,
one right by Kennedy's house, we're going down that hill right before the
yeah.
right there.
There's a pretty good crossing right there.
And it's the archery season. Well, I know they're not hunting today, but they're out kicking people up. So.
All right, well, be safe. Anyway, I have another article. Radical leftists release guide to, quote, stop the coup and disrupt, quote, unquote, America if election is close. Now, radical left activists, those working for the Democratic Party, have released an online, quote, resistance, unquote, guide, which outlines how they can coordinate to disrupt the country should President Trump be reelected to a second term next month, or if the results of the election are close. To uprisings, massive and nationwide civil unrest, job walkouts, and more, the group called Shutdown DC has authored a document as a roadmap for post-election interference. Don't be surprised they'd actually do that on November 3rd, or somebody does. The manifesto, if you will, has been meticulously crafted and has received significant editorial oversight meaning that this is no manifesto written by fringe and uneducated radicals. The document has been well written and is apparent. And is an apparent product of a group called, quote, the Disruption Project, unquote, which vows it is dedicated to supporting uprisings, resistance, and mass direct action. The document calls for a possibility of violence in the wake of the election results and adds, in the end, the actual electorate might be split. Half truly believing that Trump was elected legally, and the other half knowing that he wasn't. In order to really win, we need to force some pillars of power, business, military, media, or other major institutions, to decide, with the people, or at least get out of the way. Now, I can't think of the cheapest, it's this 4-star general, he's an army guy, I can't think of his name offhand, who's our overall military guy in charge. He has stated the military is going to stay out of the election business. Now, I hope that means you will allow the soldiers, of course, to vote, but will stay out of enforcing whoever wins, I guess. But the president can order military out if things really get bad. Anyway, So let me just read that here. In order to really win, we need to force force some pillars of power, business, military, media, other major institutions, to decide with the people, or at least get out of the way. If everyday life goes on, a despot will not leave power, and so there will be no incentive for real system change. You want to think about what it might take to stop business as usual. The manifesto states that activities of disruption will begin if Trump is declared victorious over Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. Quote, Trump may declare himself the victor before the votes are counted, or Fox News may call the race. Those who can should be prepared to take action against those who are feeding into the stolen election narrative, including social media companies that are letting falsehoods and incentives to violence spread, the document states. This manifesto is essentially a how-to on throwing all American systems into chaos and preventing the country from moving past the election. Now, the Democrats have said, and Kamala Harris is on record saying that the rioting and the protests will continue on and through November 3rd. Well, guess what? Oddly enough, the manifesto calls for these actions whether Trump is reelected or not. So if Biden gets elected, they're saying they're going to continue to create violence. Anyway, it appears to be more of a leftist call to action to overthrow a perception of institutionalized oppression for minority Americans. Quote, we want to be clear, though. We are not a group of Biden supporters. This is not about ensuring the Democrats win. It's actually preparing for the possibility that white supremacist violence will continue, the document states. I'm not familiar with any white supremacist group actually doing any protesting right now. I know there are a lot of whites supporting Antifa and BLM, but last I checked, Antifa and BLM are not considered white supremacist groups.
Speaking of BLM, I saw an article, again with my printer, not wanting to print out stories from WorldNet Daily. I have to check in to find out why it's just on that network. But anyway, didn't want to print out the story, or wouldn't let me print out the story without a bunch of hodgepodge. BLM has gotten $160 million of grant money from the federal government.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah. Why is a revolutionary group getting money from the federal government? Okay, and that, in other words, the Democrats are paying for the demise of your republic. And that's why I wanted to go vote in person down at the voting place, because I was hoping that Antifa or somebody like that would be there and give me a bunch of shit so I could punch them, not in the jaw, but kick them right in the nuts. Give them God's 2 little acres. But that ain't gonna work.
Anyway, the article continues here. It says resistance in this context must be more than symbolic action. That context demands more than marches facilitated by local authorities. Where we can, we need to be in the streets, on the highways, or at the sites of power and power holders. Okay. So they're going to be roadblocks and march on people's homes, like mayor, governor, whatever. In our jobs in life, we must refuse to allow those taking control the legitimacy of the power they seek through strikes, slowdowns, and boycotts. The public refusal to accept an illegitimate ruling party. Unquote. One particularly discerning piece of the leftist manifesto is that it has a commitment to supporting large-scale uprisings. So it could be that we haven't seen anything yet. The document puts emphasis on stockpiling of food, and I think my wife orders more. Access to medics, and a logistical system for applying these resources wherever the group feels they might be needed. These are the same kind of organizational tactics we have seen during protests and riots in the country's cities since the May timeframe. Sustained action is hard, not only physically but also emotionally and mentally grueling. Interpersonal and inter-community conflicts in times of crisis are real. It is also used by federal agents to tear apart organizing communities, according to the manifesto. Organized groups of people who can proactively offer trauma and emotional support to the movement can help break the cycle of fatigue, violence, and eventual burnout. So basically, hey, come help us because we'll get tired doing it. We need some rest, and while we're resting, you can ride for us. Building teams dedicated to proactive conflict engagement can help break the cycle where people tearing each other apart and leaving the work. The document essentially is a framework for the radical left to launch a covert civil war with recruits, but it avoids directly saying so with such code of language as beware of security, but don't overdo it. Some groups will want to keep their plans discreet. Others may be open about what they plan to do. The main advantage of openness is increasing your ability to recruit, so make sure that those open groups get a chance to recruit new people every meeting. 38-page Google document, which Google didn't print, avoids using language about taking violent actions, firearms, or weapons, or what its proposed actions could look like. But it hints at using tactics to disrupt transportation and the community of commerce while organizing and following adequate leadership. What we've already seen is that armed and unarmed protests are blocking roads. There's going to be an interstate highway, an on-ramp to these streets, going after people, and stop, and either forcing the driver to stop, or for some reason the driver stops and gets out, or gets pulled out. But don't stop, okay? Just go for it. Either back up, turn around, or put the pedal to the metal.
Run them over. Save bullets. Run them over.
That's right. It also asks for you to prepare for prolonged conflict while recruiting new members. It warns numerous times that plans of action should be discussed in private or refraining from using electronic means of communications. Point to the 6 of 13 members and people, so-called militia, Michigan militia, that were arrested, and one thing they did was communicate electronically.
Yeah, that was a stupid thing to do.
And this militia seems more leftist than anything else. But anyway, if plans for leftist insurgency or revolution in American cities are being planned, this document essentially offers visitors of election results a map on how to format the chaos. The country is in the current state of division, and has arguably not seen since the Civil War. While most Americans are going about their lives by going to work, enjoying some time with the family, and preparing to take an American approach to choosing the country's path forward by voting, it is clear that a large group of people intend to take a different approach. The leftist 2020 protests, riots, and other actions of civil discourse have already created an organized movement that doesn't appear to be going anywhere. The document is either a roadmap for revolution and civil conflict, or the veiled threat of violence if Democrats are not put in power following the November 3rd election. In any event, it's a signal that Democrats and their activists are not convinced that they'll win in 3 weeks, which is promising. Most Americans want nothing to do with the left's violence. The document makes one thing clear: we might have seen only the tip of the iceberg with regard to the left's war in the country. If indeed a country is facing organized massive protests, riots, or other actions against civility, it would be wise to know what they are up to. Anyway, the said document was linked, but I could not get to it. So I don't know if the link was bad or just it got cut by somebody. I would say, though, with November 3rd rapidly approaching, if you can still buy ammunition, do so. It might be a little more costly. If you can, stockpile some more food. Could be for a nasty time frame, especially after November 3rd. Depending on who gets elected, it doesn't matter. I guess these guys are going to be rising. They could ride. If Trump gets elected, re-elected, they could riot against him, or maybe if Biden gets elected, they won't celebrate by rioting. Who knows?
I just saw an article today from the New York City Chief of Police, or Commissioner, or whatever he was, that the cutting back of the police force and defunding the police force is a recipe for disaster. They're already seeing a large increase in the crime rate, and it's not just to rioting and stuff, but other stuff. Because if there's no police out there, hey man, we can go do what we want. Chances of getting caught are slim, and then if we do get caught, the Democrats will give them a bunch of bullshit, and they'll just turn us free, slap us on the wrist and turn us free, so we can go do it again. So just be cautious, because the election is not going to be the end of the problem. Okay, I'm afraid that the election is probably going to end up resulting in a bigger problem, regardless of which way it goes. And as I was telling the guys earlier, before I had to leave, I saw a commercial, and it was about a bar. And since it was on a Pittsburgh station, it seems to me I've heard this. I believe it's Pig's Head Bar. Okay, I believe it is. I've heard of the bar before. It shows the bar owner sitting there in his bar with empty seats. Oh, okay. Totally empty. And he's going, this is Trump's economy. Well, sir, if you're in Pennsylvania, it's not Trump that has got things locked down. It's the communist pecker-headed bastard in Harrisburg that's got things locked down, and that is
Tyrant Wolf.
Wolf.
And don't forget, Pittsburgh is run by Democratic Mayor Peduto, otherwise known as Mayor Potato Head.
Potato Head?
Yes.
You mean one of them guys that used plastic ears?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah. Well, he is so dense. And I think now Philadelphia is going to try it. They are going to once again challenge the state's gun laws. They want to have their own gun laws down in Pittsburgh as well as Philadelphia. They don't like the way the state regulates gun laws so it's consistent from, between the state lines here. Um, you can't have different municipalities having their own gun law because let's say you live in Beaver County and it follows the state law. But you're going down to link up with somebody and maybe you're going to go hunting in West Virginia or just hunting someplace else, let's say West Warren County. Or maybe there's a shooting match and you're going to in West Warren County. And the easiest way, quick way to get here is, is going through, then use I-79. Let's suppose to get to 79, you got to go through, let me say you're not in a good spot and you got to go through Pittsburgh, go on the road, you in the Allegheny County in Pittsburgh and you finally get on at 79. If you get stopped by police and you're not compliant with Allegheny/Pittsburgh gun laws, you could be arrested, fined, imprisoned, and your gun's confiscated. That's why there's a state law that mandates consistent gun law throughout the state of or Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You just can't have who knows how many hundreds of thousands of different gun laws in each little municipality, town, city, whatever, township.
And the sad part of it is a lot of those township local ordinances or gun laws or whatever never get challenged because people don't know that they're even on the books. And when they find out, they spend all their money defending themselves and they don't have any money to take it to the Supreme Court. But fortunately, up in Erie, they had an open carry rally, and the city of Erie tried to shut them down. And
I remember that.
And the people that organized it got a hold of the NRA and the American Gun Owners Association, and they got some funding, and they were able to take it all the way to the state Supreme Court. And for the 7th time in almost as many years, I believe it was maybe 7th time in 20 years, Erie being told this by the state Supreme Court, you cannot supersede state law. It's an open carry state, therefore they have the right to open carry in the city. And so it got overturned. But if you got the money, you can get justice. And the other thing that they don't tell you is that if it is a law and you go to jury, the jurist can be like a Supreme Court justice, okay? They can judge, they're supposed to judge the law in addition to the supposed crime. And if the law is unconstitutional, they can throw it out and therefore nullify that law. It's called jury nullification. I know I haven't brought it up for years or for months maybe, but there is that clause of jury nullification, which everybody has that right as a jurist, to challenge the law by checking the law, see if it's constitutional. Of course, you have to know your state constitution, or you have to know your federal constitution, but you don't need to have a law degree in those things to pick it up and look at it and see, oh, this is a very simple book. It's simply defined. This is what, this is what, and this is what. That's not in there, so therefore it is unconstitutional. Pure and simple. But they don't want you to know that because it's big bucks of money, and they count on people not having the money to fight it. So just remember that. Yeah, let's see. Telling Winter he's up in Connecticut right now to find a lobster shop somewhere in Fresh Lobster Roll Shack way down east. Well, that's good. But you're right, we don't own anything as long as we allow the property to be sold for property tax. Okay? We don't own anything. And that is one of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto on how to take over a country. Ever increasing property tax to where the people cannot afford to own their own land. If they can't own their own land, that means no private property, which then does away with your private property rights. You still have it, but you have to pay us in order to keep it. Okay? So stop and figure. Okay, bleh. You, this guy.
Yeah.
Guy with the mustache.
We've all heard defund the police, defund the police. And, well, Los Angeles has unanimously voted to create unarmed response teams to answer 911 calls. Los Angeles City Council has unanimously voted to create these unarmed response teams to handle 911 calls that are currently handled by the city's police department. Not all of them, but a good many. Every election, we see a majority of voters in California cast ballots against their own interests. Why? I don't know. Stupid as anything. I think my goats are smarter than people in California. But anyway, it's fascinating to watch elected Democrats not only vote for something with an obvious flaw, but to celebrate doing so. Decision to explore keeping police officers away from some calls, 911 calls, by a Democratic-run council was made this past week and hailed by county's president, Nerdy Martinez, according to KPTV. Martinez said the decision in the media release. I'm a little cursor out of the way there. Read that. Martinez said the decision in the media release, today marks a seminal moment in our city's history and efforts to reimagine public safety. Through these unarmed response pilot for nonviolent calls, we will help Angelinos get the mental health and other support services they need from trained professionals. We'll also free up police officers to do the work they are trained to do, the council president said. Ultimately, this will also allow us to provide our black and brown communities with the resources they deserve. By a vote of 14-0, the council enacted the vote program according to KABC TV. The council said it will issue a proposal, quote, for a non-profit partner to implement a pilot program. In addition, seek recommendations from relevant departments on creating a new classification of city employees that will be responsible for responding to non-violent calls for service that are currently handled by police officers, unquote. Gee, what could go wrong? A lot comes to imagination when you look at the types of situations in which LA's Democratic legislative body, Democrats, has all deemed no longer essential for police officers to handle. These calls will include those related to mental health, substance abuse, and people making suicidal threats. California leaders all the way down to municipal level continue to thumb their nose at common sense. In fact, really bad ideas are a national epidemic with regard to Democrats and law enforcement. Now, let me go back up here. It said calls include those related to mental health, substance abuse, and people making suicidal threats. People making suicidal threats be armed with a knife or some kind of weapon that goes bang. It could be a pistol, a rifle, could be a shotgun. And you're going to send unarmed people,
or even a zip gun,
to respond to these threats. And mental health people, they could be unbalanced. They too might be armed with something that goes bang, or something sharp, pointed. And substance abuse people, if they're high on drugs, who knows what their mental state is. So you're going to send people into situations, unarmed people, into situations that the people they're going to go see can be armed, therefore dangerous. I would expect some of these unarmed response team members to die, okay, or be severely injured responding to these calls. Now,
Did it say in there who's going to decide whether it's a violent call or non-violent call?
well, I don't know, maybe we finish going that through. Anyway,
it's coming into 911 operator, and they're behind a desk.
somebody there is going to make a call, non-violent, or whatever, or based on the person calling in. Are you violent? Are you non-violent? Are you armed? I got you armed. Do they count?
Yeah, I got two of them, one on each side.
Let me repeat something. In fact, really bad ideas are a national epidemic with regard to Democrats and law enforcement. The party's nominee for president, Joe Biden, actually said during his ABC town hall event Thursday that police officers need to learn to shoot violent criminals in the leg. You got to teach people how to escalate or de-escalate circumstances, de-escalate. So instead of anybody coming at you, and the first thing you do is shoot to kill, you shoot them in the leg, Biden said when addressing police reform. That statement obviously lacks any common sense, but the logic behind it is shared by many, including LA's elected Democrats. Now, I know in the military you're taught to shoot the person, okay? You shoot for center of mass, the torso. Head's too small.
Wind in water.
And the legs move, okay? Now you could, by chance, hit the leg and, knock the guy down and but moments like that, you, the respondent person, whether it be an armed citizen or police officer, may be not mentally in tune with the situation, and therefore there'll be a delay in response. And you may try to shoot for the leg and not hit it, just entirely. Just shoot for the torso. Anyway. Anyway, regarding the LA's City Council decision, hopefully the decision to prioritize woke politics over the health and well-being of the citizens and ensuing unarmed first responders won't backfire. And I expect people to be, the responders to be shot, killed, knifed and killed, somehow wounded anyway. Of course it probably will, especially when you look at other calls which will be relegated away from police and to crisis responders under the proposed program. Some calls with a subject in the state of behavioral distress will no longer be handled by police, nor were calls regarding conflict resolution and welfare checks. So you're going to put these non-armed people in a situation where armed police officers may fear tread. Unarmed responders in the coming pilot program might have a bit more insight into the roles with each respective call and its details. In regard to the bigger picture, this decision completely encapsulates the politics which have turned many of California cities into wastelands. LA is mecca for the homeless, and many of them are mentally ill and on drugs. The city, like many others, also has its share of domestic abusers, killers, and rapists, all of whom are likely are behavioral distressed and in a state of conflict prior to committing violent crimes. I can call it mentally unstable. As we know, the council's unanimous decision to initiate a pilot program of unarmed responders for 911 calls is about pandering and politics. But the council still had to make But the council still had to make that clear in the media response obtained by KTTV. Calling the police on George Floyd about alleged counterfeit $20 bill in his life. This is then Councilman Herb Weston said. If George Floyd had been met with unarmed trained specialists with a nonviolent crime he's accused of, he would be turning 47 years today. Maybe not. Or if he did, he may have killed those people and end up in jail for murder. Anyway, this plan will save lives, and I'm so proud of my colleagues in the council for voting to move this forward. Herb, you and your fellow councilmen, if those unarmed responders die or get severely injured or wounded, their blood is on your hands. Following George Floyd's death after Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for roughly 9 minutes, elected officials in LA will now endanger the lives of local people in the names of social justice and demand and perceived racial inequality. Oh, almost done anyway. The council has told us that its cops are incapable of navigating a situation in which the department is and always has been supremely qualified to handle. The city council told people in some situations react fully being controlled by cops. Just wait until they find out how others respond to being jammed up by unarmed bureaucrats. Pay attention. I'm not sure to say when it's going to be enacted, but I would say stay tuned. Listen for what happens in LA about their unarmed responders. And what gets me to is that mentioned in California, voters intentionally vote for things that are good. Why? Or no, here in Pennsylvania, people vote for things that aren't good either, like voting for Trump. Voting for Trump because they don't like him, he gets things done, they're going to go for Biden. We already know what Biden's going to plan to do.
That's why I say you shouldn't vote based on your like of the man. You should vote on the basis of what he's planning to do for or to the country. Now, if he doesn't get it accomplished, it's not necessarily his fault either, because remember, there are 532 other people down in Washington.
535.
535.
100 senators and 435 House representatives.
Okay. So, there are those that have a say in what he can accomplish and can't accomplish. So just remember that. But when you have both the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate stating that if they get elected, they will be coming after your guns, you have no other choice, because if they get elected and they come for your guns, that will dissolve the republic. That will dissolve the republic. So on that note, I don't have anything else to say. You, Mr. T, closing words?
If you're not armed, I hope you can find something soon with ammo. If you have arms and ammunition, you need to get yourself mentally prepared that some protest, some riot, some anarchist may be in your neighborhood. In fact, may be in the street in front of your house. And you have to keep in mind that this protest, this riot, may get out of hand. And you will have to conduct an LFX, otherwise known as live fire exercise, to defend yourself and your family. Shoot center of mass at chest or abdomen. Okay. Don't go for the legs. If you're close enough, go for the head, but again, the head at a distance is a small target. Go for the torso. Hits count, misses don't. If you hit the chest and apparently no reaction, the guy is really super on drugs or he has a vest. Okay? Shoot lower. Shoot for the groin.
Thank you, Emmy. I appreciate you praying for Kathy. We all know we can all use the
We all
Lord's
use
prayer
prayer.
and help in everything. But I appreciate cleaning her out. So at that point, kiddies, Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. We will be back here again next Sunday night, same time. So you have a good week. Stay frosty, my friends. Oh, by the way, the answer to the question to I believe it was Jack. It's supposed to be in the low 40s at night around here. Maybe cooler in the mountains when you get here next week. So
Yeah,
at that point,
just watch the weather forecast and adjust accordingly. Night all.
you're going.